In the vast South China Sea lies Scarborough Shoal, a small ring of reefs and rocks, not a true island, but a vital flashpoint. Just 222 kilometers from the Philippines' Luzon Island, it sits well within the country's exclusive economic zone, or EEZ. Yet China also claims the shoal, turning this quiet spot into a global hotspot. Recently, China has flexed its military muscle here, sending warships and bombers, while the Philippines has grown more determined to defend its claim. The standoff is tense. Any misstep could spark a wider conflict. Scarborough Shoal is more than a cluster of rocks. It's a symbol of power, resources, and the rules that govern the world's most important waterways. Filipino fishermen have relied on these waters for generations, while China sees the shoal as a strategic asset. For the US and its allies, it's a test of international law and freedom of navigation. The world is watching, as the outcome could shift Asia's balance of power. Today, the shoal is surrounded by unease, its calm waters hiding a complex dispute of history, law, and military might. Governments from Washington to Tokyo are watching every move. A conflict here could disrupt global trade and alliances, destabilizing the Indo-Pacific. Understanding Scarborough Shoal means understanding one of today's biggest security challenges. This tiny shoal's fate could shape the future of the entire region. China has made its intentions unmistakable at Scarborough Shoal, showcasing military might with bombers, fighter jets, and warships. In early October 2025, China's military drills sent a clear message: it's ready to enforce its claims by force. But China's strategy isn't just about firepower. In September, Beijing announced plans for a national nature preserve at the shoal, framing it as environmental protection. Many in the Philippines see this as a legal smokescreen, a way to justify control without open conflict. This tactic echoes China's past moves at Mischief Reef, where fishermen's shelters became a major military base. By declaring a nature reserve, China can block others, especially Filipino fishermen, while quietly building a permanent presence. Since 2012, China's Coast Guard and maritime militia have controlled access, keeping Philippine vessels out. The latest drills and the nature preserve plan mark a new escalation, hinting at a future fortified outpost. If China succeeds, it will cement its dominance over this part of the South China Sea. The world is left to wonder, is this environmentalism, or a prelude to militarization? The stakes for the region have never been higher. The Philippines has responded with a firm rejection of China's nature preserve plan, calling it a direct challenge to its sovereignty. Manila's message is clear: any Chinese construction on Scarborough Shoal is a red line. General Romeo Brawner Jr., the Philippine military chief, warns that building any structure would force a drastic response. This stance is shaped by the painful loss of Mischief Reef, where China's small shelters became a military base. Determined not to repeat history, the Philippines is signaling its limits to both China and the world. Enforcing this red line is risky. Manila's military is far smaller than China's, and it relies on allies for support. But allowing China to build would put a Chinese outpost dangerously close to Manila and cost the Philippines a vital fishing ground. The red line is a desperate but necessary stand to prevent a worst-case scenario. The world is now on notice. Escalation at Scarborough Shoal will have serious consequences. The Philippines is gambling everything to defend its sovereignty. Tensions at Scarborough Shoal aren't just diplomatic, they're playing out in dangerous encounters at sea. In September 2025, a China Coast Guard ship blasted a Philippine vessel with a water cannon, injuring a crew member and damaging the ship. Just a month earlier, a Chinese Navy destroyer collided with a Coast Guard cutter during a tense standoff with a Philippine patrol boat. These incidents highlight the real risk. A single miscalculation could trigger a major conflict. China's Coast Guard and maritime militia routinely swarm, block, and harass Philippine ships, using water cannons and aggressive maneuvers. The goal is to wear down the Philippines' resolve and enforce China's control. For Filipino crews, these missions are perilous, facing larger, more powerful ships with little more than courage. Each encounter sends a message: China is in charge. The front line of this dispute is a dangerous place, where the stakes are national sovereignty and regional peace. Scarborough Shoal's value to China is strategic, not just symbolic. For China's military, controlling the shoal is key to two goals: deterring U.S. intervention in a Taiwan conflict and securing its nuclear deterrent. A base here would put Manila and the vital Subic naval base within missile range, intimidating the Philippines and complicating U.S. support for Taiwan. Militarizing the shoal would let China project power across the region and shape future crises. The second reason is nuclear strategy. China wants a bastion in the South China Sea for its ballistic missile submarines. With bases in the Paracels and Spratlys, Scarborough Shoal is the missing piece, closing off the northern sea and protecting China's subs. This bastion would shield China's nuclear forces, ensuring a credible second strike capability. Controlling the shoal would also let China monitor and block U.S. submarines entering from the Pacific. The result, a major shift in the military balance, giving China more security and leverage. Scarborough Shoal is a small feature with outsized strategic impact. Whoever controls it shapes the future of the South China Sea. That's why the stakes are so high. Facing China's power, the Philippines has turned to assertive transparency, publicizing every confrontation at sea. When Chinese ships block or attack, Manila releases photos and videos, exposing China's actions to the world. This strategy has won international sympathy, framing the dispute as a case of a big power bullying a smaller neighbor. While it hasn't stopped China, it's kept the world's attention and rallied support from allies. The Philippines is also upgrading its defenses, acquiring BrahMos supersonic missiles from India, giving it a limited but credible deterrent. Still, the real backbone of its defense is the alliance with the United States, anchored by the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty. Joint exercises and expanded U.S. base access have strengthened this partnership, but doubts remain about how far U.S. support will go. For now, transparency, modest upgrades, and the U.S. alliance are Manila's best hope. The Philippines is betting that global attention and allied support will deter further Chinese escalation. In this high-stakes game, information is as powerful as missiles. The world is watching every move. The Philippines' transparency strategy has drawn strong support from the U.S. and its allies. Washington has reaffirmed its defense commitments, warning that attacks on Philippine vessels could trigger the Mutual Defense Treaty. Australia, Japan, and the UK have joined in, urging China to respect international law and the 2016 tribunal ruling. These allies have backed up words with joint patrols and capacity building for the Philippine military. But within Southeast Asia, support is muted. ASEAN and neighbors like Vietnam and Malaysia remain cautious, wary of angering China. Economic ties and fear of retaliation keep the region divided. This lack of unity leaves the Philippines reliant on outside allies, highlighting China's success in dividing its neighbors. The world may be watching, but the region's silence speaks volumes. In 2016, an international tribunal ruled in favor of the Philippines, rejecting China's sweeping claims in the South China Sea. The court confirmed Scarborough Shoal is within the Philippines' EEZ and a traditional fishing ground for several nations. China dismissed the ruling, relying on force to maintain control. The legal victory stands in stark contrast to the reality on the water, where China's power prevails. The dispute also has an environmental cost. The same tribunal found China had severely damaged the marine ecosystem, destroying coral reefs and depleting fish stocks. China's nature preserve announcement rings hollow, given its record of environmental destruction. The reefs are vital for regional food security, but ongoing damage threatens millions. The tragedy, the resources at the heart of the dispute are being destroyed in the struggle for control. Scarborough Shoal is now a flashpoint with global consequences. The standoff tests whether international law or raw power will shape Asia's future. The South China Sea is a vital artery for global trade. Any conflict here could send shockwaves worldwide. U.S. involvement is likely if fighting erupts, raising the risk of a catastrophic clash between superpowers. For Southeast Asia, the outcome will define relations with China, either accepting its dominance or risking instability in arms races. If China militarizes the shoal unchallenged, it sets a precedent for power over principle. The hope for a peaceful, rules-based order hangs in the balance. The fate of this tiny shoal is tied to the biggest questions of our time: sovereignty, power, and the future of international order. Beneath the calm surface, a dangerous rivalry simmers. How it's managed will shape Asia's security for decades to come.